and welcome to Journeys and Journals. We're traveling way back in history this time. Some of you may remember a washboard. My guest is going to tell us a little bit about what she knows about a washboard. Anne, welcome.
Thank you. I remember the washboard pretty well because since I was probably in grade school, I washed all my own clothes on the washboard, rinsed them, and hung them on the line to dry. That's the way we did it then.
And who did the ironing?
Well, I think maybe I did part of it, but not all of it.
So you show me. How do you do it?
Well, you had a bar of soap right here, and then you'd take your clothes and just scrub up and down, and if there were spots or something, you'd take your bar of soap and soap it up and put the bar of soap back up here and go ahead and rinse your clothes and hang them on the line to dry.
Now, you wouldn't want the soap in the water.
Oh, yes.
I mean, where'd you get the soap?
Just a bar of laundry soap. It was called laundry soap.
You didn't have to make the soap from the...
No, we didn't. I guess some people did.
You must have been the rich people that lived out on the farm.
We weren't very rich.
What was money like?
Well, we depended on our farm things, and the wintertime, our summertime, they'd butcher a hog, and we had a smokehouse, and they would smoke. We had hams and all that. We had chickens, and we had carrots and beans. We raised a lot of beans and peas.
What was your house like? I mean, well insulated, of course?
No, my father built the house.
Out of what?
Well, when I was about 3 years old, the house we were living in burned. Ooh. And so he built it himself, and out of just lumber. I don't know if he had ever built a house before or not. He was from Norway and very good craftsman. And
But the work that your dad did, was it craftsman work?
No. The reason he came to America was in the 1880s. There wasn't much work in Norway, so a lot of the fellas came to America to work, and he worked in the timber in Wisconsin. And he and his brother, and then the company he was working for, sent him out to Maryland to look over the timber industry, see if they should build a mill out here. Well, he looked and told them no, he didn't think so. So then he stayed.
Oh, no, don't send more people, but I'm going to stay here.
Yeah.
Now, how did Mom's story fit into this?
Mom? Well, my mother was a daughter of William Woodson Tucker, who came over on the Oregon Trail, of course, when he was 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
And he walked all the way.
A little 5-year-old?
Yes.
Can 5-year-olds do
I guess all the children walked because they had the wagons loaded with their things, so only the driver, I think, got to ride.
Or the pregnant mom.
And so...
There's this wonderful story about this lady wanted to take the teapot, and they said, no, teapots are luxury. We do not have room on this wagon for teapots. And she said, then I'll carry it.
Oh.
So she tied it to her waist and carried it across the country.
I feel like that moving to Hawaii. There's some things that I didn't send that I didn't want to part with, and I'm thinking, where can I stick those in my suitcase?
You are going to Hawaii, right?
I hope so.
I mean, you're just a kid. At 94, you are making this incredible move.
Yes, it wasn't my idea, but my children want me there, so I'm going.
What will you be doing in Hawaii?
Well, I'll be helping my daughter with her church mainly, and I hope to, before when I was there, she had me be a greeter. And I enjoyed being a greeter, but I really like to work with children.
Oh, wonderful.
And she said I could.
Now, I know that you used to put in grains, nuts, meat, beans.
The oddest thing I can remember from way back then was my mother making head cheese from a pork,
Okay.
and grinding it all up. And I don't remember too much about how it tasted.
But I remember this mother used to put raisins and nuts and something else in it, and I think you made mincemeat for Christmas.
Oh, yes.
That was kind of fish. How is it that you end up being this driver who even wants her car to go to Hawaii? When did you first start driving?
Oh, I started driving. I got a learner's permit. I think I was 14, 15. And the reason I did that was because my sister's husband had died. And she had a car, but she didn't know how to drive. And she didn't want to learn. And so I would have to take her to church. And
what's your sister's name?
my sister's name was Mary Brazil.
Oh, yeah. And her daughter?
And she had a daughter, Joanna Brazil, and then she had 3 children. One they called Toad, and one they called Hank, and the other was Leslie. There was Marion. So there's 3 boys and 1 girl.
Ah, and you had a bunch too. You had 3 kids?
I had 2 children, a boy and a girl.
And those are the ones that are pulling you over to Hawaii.
We'll all be in Hawaii.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. You've got stories for me about wartime and what it was like to be a young woman during, actually, you were around shortly after World War I, right?
Yes, I can only remember seeing the men come home when they had their uniforms on. That's about all I remember about that.
My friend was saying, Bill Young's his name, and he said, yeah, they were coming home from the war, and he started telling me these stories. He said, the Tsar, and I kept trying to figure out what he was talking about. They hung the Tsar in effigy. Well, and finally it came out, he's talking World War I. And Railroad Park, did you ever go to Railroad Park?
Well, not very often because we lived out in the country and no transportation.
Except?
But one time I remember when I was a little girl, some president, I think, came through. And so everybody in town went to see the train, and he come out on the back and waved at everybody.
Oh, that would be fun. Got to find out. You were a little girl, so it was in the
Probably in the 20s, but I don't remember who the president was.
Well, I used to go down to the train station, and it was Estes Kefauver was doing campaign. They called it stumping.
Oh, uh-huh.
And that was fun. Dewey came through on his train. I bet other people can remember. That was old-fashioned stumping, campaigning.
Mm.
When you were younger, much younger, going to town was a big deal?
Well, we went to town about once a week.
The wagon, the horse?
1 horse wagon. And my father cut wood in the wintertime. And so my mother would take about a tier of wood on this little wagon. She had her customers here in Grants Pass that she served.
What's a tier?
Well, it's 4 feet high, I think, and 8 feet long.
Oh my, a big load of wood.
Well, it isn't all that big. It fit in one small wagon, 1 tier.
Now, did you help with this wood?
Well, I guess I helped load it probably and unload it. We'd throw it off wherever she took it.
So now, did you ever trade things for wood?
Not really. She usually got money for the wood. And then, of course, we'd go to Schmidt's Grocery and spend it.
48 stars. Do you remember this flag waving?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's all the stars it had since I can remember. Until later, you know.
Until Hawaii, where you're headed.
Well, I think there was Hawaii and Alaska came in
Alaska came
last.
first, just months before Hawaii. A few
I don't
months.
remember.
I want to hear this story about you driving. I mean, this is after the horse and wagon, excuse me. You didn't have a buggy.
We did have a buggy, but we very seldom used it.
It was for Sundays best, or?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we couldn't haul that much in it. I mean, we could, but.
So it wasn't a work vehicle, and
no,
why use it, huh?
It was a pleasure vehicle.
Where'd your clothes come from?
Where did what?
Where did your clothes come from? What did you...
My clothes? We made them.
We made them, folks. just like that. We made them.
No, we didn't have any bought clothes except shoes.
And
shoes, we always went to Golden Rule to get our shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And
you and me both.
They were cheaper than people that went to Portland or somewhere to buy shoes because Golden Rule only marked their things up a certain percentage.
And if you sent away for shoes, you had to, I just wore sandals for the Hawaiian thing. You had to take off and draw around your feet, and then you'd send that pattern, and then they'd send you shoes that would fit
We
that.
never did that. We always shopped locally.
Well, I
guess that wore off on me because all my life I've shopped locally.
What do you mean, shopped locally?
Well, I never patronized the big stores. I don't even go to Walmart. I mean, I like to just keep our money here.
You shop America. Now this shirt you've got on, it's kind of flashy. Where did that come from?
This came from Hawaii. I bought it when I was over there.
And you're going back. Hawaii has been a theme of your life for how many years?
Well, my daughter did the Ironman for 10 years. No, 9 years. She wanted to do it 10, but she only made it to 9 because she had too much. When she started the church, she couldn't continue doing that.
This is a student who made A's.
She always made A's. She was salutatorian at Grants Pass High School, and she was very upset at not being valedictorian because she had always gotten perfect grades. However, they went clear back to junior high and found out she got a B in PE once.
Oh my goodness.
So that gave her salutatorian.
What did she do when she was in college? Same thing?
Oh, yes. And same thing now. She's taken Greek lessons, and one time she didn't get 100%. Well, she contested it. I mean, it's over the internet. And so when she contested it, they said, well, her answer was better than the one they had on the test. So she got her 100 after all. But she got 100 on all her tests.
Now,
Greek.
Is this is similar to Mom. Now, you're a college-educated woman like your daughter, right?
No, unfortunately, high school was it. I wanted to go on, but during the Depression, there was no way I could. We don't have any money, and we live out of town, and just that was my dream, to go to school. But I never could do that. I did take some classes later on. I went out to Rogue Community and took a couple years and years later.
You've not let much grass grow under your feet. You are 94.
Uh-huh.
And you are going to do a geographic and move from Oregon. Your daughter's moved from Eugene.
Yes.
Your son's moving from
Bellevue, Washington.
And all of you are going to
We're going to be family again. That's what they say.
Oh, it is such a wonderful thing. Now, this is not the first meeting for the two of us.
No. I've known you for several years.
Because of the reunion class at school. But turns out that our families have probably walked the same street since
Oh, yes.
I was being pushed by that Schmidt grocery in my stroller.
I want to tell you something about Schmidt Grocery. I didn't get to come to town until my brother got a car at night. I'd come to town at night until my brother got a car. And they were having a opening or something, so we came in at night. And at Schmidt's Grocery, they had this huge dog, about this big, a big yellow dog that patrolled that grocery all the time. It walked all around and to the back, front and back. And I didn't know that until I came in that night and saw it.
A watchdog, indeed.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
I was probably 10 or 12 years old by then.
You have a funny story about this driving you drove your...
I drove my sister's car first because
and
her husband had passed away, and
your sister's name is
my
Mary?
Sister's name was Mary Brazil, and she didn't drive, and so I'd just got my learner's permit and learned to drive so I could drive it.
And she had a cute little car?
It was 29 Roadster with a rumble seat.
Why do you remember the rumble seat so much?
Well, I took her children into church school, and so there was three of them. There was neighbor child went too. So there was three little boys that sat in the rumble seat, and one of the bigger ones sat up with me. And it was fun. And we had they called it a flume across the road out in Jerome Prairie. And
what's a flume?
Well, it was carried the water, and it dripped. So my big thrill was to stop under the flume and let the guys in the rumble seat cool them off a little.
Did they like it or did they hate it?
I think they liked it.
Oh, now was there a swimming hole that you'd get to go to now and then, other than when you were harvesting?
Well, the Applegate River was the closest place to swim. We'd have to walk about 2 miles to go to that, but we did.
And then walking home, you'd...
Then walk back home. And when I went to school, I went to Jerome Prairie School, so it was a 3-mile walk each direction. And
in the winter, you walked to school?
Oh, yes.
In the rain?
Dark time we got home.
It was dark when you got home. And when it rained?
We walked.
Soaking wet to school?
Oh, yes.
I
had a little girl that lived further than I did. She lived a mile further. So she had 4 miles to walk each way. And one morning she walked down to our house, and then we had our lunches in lard pails. Of course, we had to take our own lunch. So she got to our house and she opened up her lard pail, and it had lard in it. So we had to fix her a lunch too.
Picked up the wrong bucket, folks. I guess there's a wonderful story there, because how many times Oh, how...
And when they built the Jerome Prairie School, we had gone to the old red schoolhouse, which is about a mile from the new one out on the highway. And we had to carry all our own books over there. And then they had just painted, and so these square windows in the school had paint around them. So they gave each one of us kids a razor blade.
Oh.
And we took the razor blade and scraped the paint off of the windows, and we got a penny apiece for doing that. Can you imagine giving little kids razor blades?
You were how
Second
old?
graders.
Second grade? That means you were probably 7 or 8 years old. Now, they probably weren't single-edge razor blades?
They were single edges.
Oh, fortune. You did a lot of wild and crazy things as a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old. Was this pretty common?
Well, yeah, I mean...
You played in the river alone? You did...
Oh, yes.
Scrape
They trusted us. I mean, I think, I know when my own children were little, I had rules, and I lived in Grants Pass on K Street. I had rules because the kids were little, and they couldn't go in the street, and they could only go so far on down the sidewalk and back. And I think today they should have more rules, because we moved out on N Street where I didn't have to worry about where they were. And my daughter came to me one day and she said, "Mama, I wish we had rules like we had on K Street so she'd know what she could do and couldn't do."
Put that in print. Put that in print. I wished we had rules. In fact, that's a good title for this interview. Because she has done very, very well in every endeavor that she's...
And she always minded. And when one night after she was dating, her boyfriend took her to Ashland to go to a show. She calls me up, "Mama, it's a double feature, and the one we want to see is the second feature." So she wondered if they could stay and watch the rest of the show or if she needed to come home.
And Mom said...
I said, "Go ahead, but come right home after it."
Oh, I love it. This is...
But when you have rules, then they ask permission. I mean, when they want to do something.
I guess I didn't ever learn that very well. That's why my penmanship is so poor. Did you have to do the ovals?
Oh, yes, yes, Palmer method.
You told me about working in a laundry.
Oh, the Grants Pass. When I came back, I went to California for a little while, and then I came back and I needed to work. And I had worked in a dry cleaning shop down there, so I went to the Grants Pass Steam Laundry had a dry cleaning shop as well as the laundry. So they put me in the laundry first, and they had about 6 or more trucks that traveled all over Southern Oregon and picked up laundry at all the motels and brought them into the laundry to be washed. And so I worked in there for a week or so, and then they put me over into the dry cleaners.
Fortunately, you didn't have to use this. And that building still exists.
That building still exists, and I understand now it's going to be a restaurant.
By the name of?
Grants Pass Steam Laundry, I guess.
Of course.
And then, well, anyway, they got that on the window. It was a creamery after it was a steam laundry.
Right, Rogold
Dairy.
Caveman on
I
the
think, or creamery.
That's what I remember. I just love to hear your stories, and there's so many that I know your kids could tell me, "Ask Mom about this."
Well, I don't know if I've told them all my stories.
What about the Rogue River? Why did you build the big house on the Rogue River? I mean,
It's just my
you
size.
bought it. You bought the first one, the big house,
Yes.
complete with.
A indoor swimming pool. I thought I was in Hollywood. And then after my husband died, I couldn't maintain the swimming pool.
Well, Neil had.
So then I built a house next door on the river.
Neil's daughter is on the show. She does a children's show.
Yes, I know she does.
And so then you lived right next door. What has it been like to just watch the world go by every morning?
Oh, yes, I have an alcove that overlooks the river, and it's just wonderful.
And you're selling it, giving it up for Hawaii. Can you believe?
Yeah, I hate to give it up. I really do.
The whole idea of your family being back together again, this will be the first time you've lived in the same town
Yes.
in 40, 30, 20 years? What do you count? Many years.
But we keep in touch. We talk almost every day on the telephone, and I have three-way calling, and we just keep in touch.
Well, then we can expect before nightfall that you will be telling them about Better Life TV in Grants Pass, and then go online.
Oh, I was in television today.
Go online and look at the old shows, and Dennis will put the address up so you can tune in, betterlifetv.tv, and see what we were talking about 15 years ago when I first started. Because this is about history. Thank you so very, very much, Anna.
Okay.
And it's my privilege to find out more about history. And the future, in Anna's case, is going to Hawaii. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Okay.
I'm Bernie Martin Beck, and it has been fun to talk to people, 90-year-olds and 94 and 100-year-olds, and bye for now.